Global Chief Operations Officer.
Good afternoon.
Paul, Christian's invited Leo. Do we call you Leo?
Leo, yeah, please
Leo,
do call me Leo. Only my mum calls me Leonora when I'm in trouble.
Okay. So Christian's invited Leo. She co-founded the business with him and runs, did you say operations, is it, or sales and marketing?
Sales and marketing.
Sales and marketing, that's what I thought, yeah. Good. Well, look, nice to meet you both. I'm recording it because unfortunately our CFO wasn't able to attend, but he'd like to watch it later. Christian, can I just start by asking a question? You said that you guys founded the business. Didn't Mike Ramsey found it?
Well, we bought it from him, actually.
Right.
So, yeah. So,
good point, Richard. Good point.
Well, so Paul and I used to work together at Metrica many years ago, and so we've been aware of your business. Paul and I, I'm afraid, have been working together for 30 years, and or just maybe a year or two under. And I think your business used to be called the Paperclip Partnership many years ago.
Well, there you go. So let me give you a little bit of potted history, shall I?
Yeah.
So, yes, I mean, my family have been involved in what used to, in the media monitoring press cuttings industry since the 70s. I remember as a kid riding gunshot with my father, running into Durrance to pick up press cuttings and bring them back to the home office and paste them up onto card and create books out of them and then send them back and best press of the week and all that kind of good stuff. So I've grown up in this industry, and you're absolutely right to point out that my parents owned a company called Paperclip. You might have come across them. So they were very much a paste up and latterly an analysis business. And then what happened with Paperclip is that because it was actually Mike Ramsey, who's my stepfather, and my father were working together. Don't talk to me about the family politics. And they actually split, and my father went his way and Mike went his way and created a company called My Market Monitor. And at the time I was at IBM, and my wife Leo was doing some part-time work with Mike, and Leo said to me, look, they've got some fabulous clients, right? They've got the likes of L'Oreal and Estee Lauder. All My Market Monitor is doing at the moment is analysis around print. It's the onset of social. We're sort of talking, 2012,
I'm sorry,
13.
My wife's gone out, and that was my door. Can I just quickly go and answer? I think she's got a little bit. Apologies.
No worries. No, it's fine.
We'll carry on with Paul with the life story.
Please continue.
And so Leo pulled me out of IBM, and basically what we did is Mike wanted out, and we bought Mike out from My Market Monitor, got some shareholders together, and at the time it was a small business, 300,000-400,000 a year. And we actually created a company called Wise, which is our holding company, Wise Analytics. And that's the majority shareholder. Well, in fact, it is the 100% shareholder in the My Market Insight MMI analytics business. It also owns 100% of Achu APS as well, which is the influencer marketing platform which we acquired last year.
And what we actually did when we took on My Market Monitor was because what Mike was doing, he'd formulated the methodology around the kind of product analysis that forms the basis of what we do today. But all of the clients, they just said, look, we love what you're doing in print. Online is exploding. Social, no one knows what to do with. What we really would love is the data that you've got for print, for online and social. And then basically that's what Christian and I built at my mum's house while she was looking after our children. And we just spent 1.5 term with like sticky labels on the wall and all of that. And that's really essentially what was the foundation of the MMI media solution, which, as I said, is the basis of the media element of our business. And I was thinking about it last night actually, but I've just renewed L'Oreal, and by the time that contract ends, we'll be into 21 years. servicing L'Oreal with this data methodology that we've created. So yeah, it really captured me when I first started working with Mike, the kind of power of it all. So
well, we're actually in a position at the moment with L'Oreal where, because what we have is a benchmarking tool, as well as sort of other key features within it, which Leo sort of best described. But the PRs in L'Oreal actually bonus themselves on our data. Yeah. So when they're looking at year-on-year growth in terms, be it in terms of a number of mentions, paid coverage, impressions, that they're actually benchmarking themselves against a key set of competitors and paying their bonuses based on our data at the end of the year. So at the end of the year, we get all these calls in from L'Oreal saying, that article. So it's it's quite entrenched within their business, and of course the beauty industry more generally. Yeah.
Are there other companies that base their bonuses on your data, or is it just L'Oreal?
No, I would say quite a few of them do actually, because the way that the data is harnessed by the larger beauty companies is that they see the very direct link between their ranking in the media. So what they're, say, for example, Yves Saint Laurent, they will have they'll have got in a new ambassador for their fragrances, or they're launching a lot of fragrances or whatever, and they'll say to the comms team, right, you've got all this investment, you've got new products, you've got a great ambassador, we expect you to be within the top 3 beauty brands within the fragrance category on MMI, or within female fragrance on MMI, or something like that. And then they know that by getting to that top 3, they are more likely to sell what they're expected to sell and get the return on investment of those strategies that they've put in place. So yeah, there are a few that work it like that, because the ranking is really where they can see the kind of business-wide benefit.
Okay, so sorry I had to dash off. Obviously, I missed, I think, a reasonably key bit. Something about MMI coming together with My Market Monitor or something. And is that right?
No. So what happened is that Paperclip and my stepfather and my father ran Paperclip, and they separated went their separate ways. My father continued with Paperclip, whereas Mike, my stepfather, set up what was known as My Market Monitor, and so that's how My Market Monitor came about in 2004-ish, 2005, I believe. And
actually, when Christian's father retired, then we actually merged the Paperclip clients back into MMI.
That's right. So you came back to
yeah.
But, Tim McLaughlin, is that a name that rings a bell from the past? Because he used to work for your father or your stepfather.
Okay.
And then came to work for us. I remember him trying to explain it to me, and it all seeming a bit complicated. So, okay, so that's how you became this business. So
yeah,
look, we've got sort of till 5:30, and I mean, I'm sure we could chat about all kinds of stuff, but we probably ought to try and get into some detail. Thank you for the documents you've sent us. I think the first thing to begin with is just sort of what happened. You've talked about some of it, but I think it'd be good to hear it in your own words, because clearly the business is distressed at the moment. So talk us through what happened.
So back in 2021, we did a funding round to scale the business for growth, and we got new shareholders on board. I've got on our cap table has about 40 shareholders in total now, and we raised 4 million in total, of which 2 million of that, approximately 2 million of that, was in cash, 2 million in equity, to acquire the Achu influencer marketing platform, and to start scaling for growth. So we commenced that process. And we got the team in and started selling lots, and then the Ukraine war happened, and we had our development team was based out in Ukraine. So we were in the middle of. We actually closed one of our largest ever contracts with a beauty company. It's worth 650,000 a year. With the talent that we brought into the business, they brought that with them.
And that was on the e-tail side, just
Yeah.
to say. So
Yeah, and then, as I said, the Ukraine war happened, and we were supporting and delivering that contract out of the Ukraine. So that image of developers in Ukraine down in their cellars coding away, that was us. And obviously it had a serious impact in terms of delivering on that contract. We also, of course, had to exit from Ukraine. So as you will know with IT, we're collecting lots of data. We were unable just to simply turn off the Ukraine and switch. So we had to run parallel systems pretty much for the duration of 2022 to exit. And furthermore, we had to take the decision to actually close the shop window and stop selling for fear of risking even further our
Richard, can I pause
services.
you there, because I don't quite understand, and I'd just like to make sure I do. So the team in Ukraine is a team that you appointed, not that you acquired, and they're
Correct.
IT developers running your software. So they're building a software platform. You've acquired an influencer platform called Achu, but that's a Far Eastern influencer platform. Is that right?
Yeah, so Achu was an acquisition that we made post-funding, and that was actually a Danish business.
Business.
Yeah, so that was actually a Danish business with a development team in Vietnam. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're just in the process of phasing that development team out now and bringing that in-house. So that will be gone. Whereas the core of the business in terms of the software development and maintenance was being delivered by a third party situated in the Ukraine.
And that was someone that you appointed.
Correct.
So you previously had development work being done ad hoc or whatever in the UK, and was this for the e-tail business or for everything? What was?
It was for everything. Yeah.
Okay, so you outsource your development to Ukraine, which is perfectly, understandable. But the Ukraine war came along, and then you said they were coding in cellars in Ukraine, but I thought I see what you mean. So they're writing code for you.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, exactly. So that sort of image that you may have seen on TV, was unfortunately us. We also lost some developers as well because they weren't in a position to work. The majority of them were over in the east, a lot of them in the Kharkiv region, which was right in the sort of center of the war. So it was a very, very distressing times, especially off the back of having just done the funding round. Yeah. And so basically the exit from Ukraine had two financial impacts. On the one hand, we didn't close any new business for quite a period of time because we closed the shop window, and on the other hand, we were having to exit and double up on costs. So it was about 600K's worth of sort of non-recurring costs as a result of that.
And just to be a bit more specific, so the Ukrainian team were running our own proprietary data collection software. And basically we had data quality issues because they couldn't kind of maintain it properly. And then we pivoted to get data from a third party. And it was that transition that where we had to pay the third party and we had to continue to pay our Ukrainian team that caused the double of costs.
And was the third party LexisNexis?
No. No, it was a software development house, a company called Data Art.
No, the third party for the data collection.
Oh, for the data collection. Yes, we do have LexisNexis now.
But
That's right.
not for our e-tail data. So this was purely from an e-tail perspective. It was a data collection of all the information around the product pages on online retailers. So that was where the double up came. So we haven't had any problems with LexisNexis other than the usual ones.
Okay, because I mean, I think we need to come on to your business and its structure. Obviously, your history and your legacy is a form of media evaluation and presumably media monitoring as well. As you say, running into Durrance as a little lad and picking up the clips. The e-tail product started when? And was it something that you guys suddenly thought of, and then you said, right, this is what we want, got the developers in Ukraine to put something together? I mean, talk us through that and exactly what it is as well then.
Yeah, so it's what the e-tail product is it's a retailer analytics platform. Okay, so what we do is we collect data on the product page for beauty products on a daily basis across 100 odd websites globally on a daily basis. So what is the data that we're collecting? We're collecting the price, the discount, the number of star ratings. Everything on that product page is what we're collecting. But to Leo's point, we're actually collecting. We're not collecting that now. We were in the Ukraine, and we've outsourced it to a company called Eckley.
But we're processing it, and again, and similarly to the media, what we're doing is we're taking in that data and we're structuring it for the beauty industry.
And collecting the data, is that a tech process, so it's purely automated, or are there operational people that are supporting on that or doing any manual inputting on that?
Yeah, good question. So the collection process is automated, absolutely, and then what we do is we match, because as you would appreciate, Paco Rabanne 1 million 50 mil EDT could be spelt differently across a number of websites. So what you have to do is match in order for the consistency of data, so that when the client reviews the analysis of that product, Paco Rabanne 1 million 30 mil EDT, that it's consistent and standard across all the retailer websites. So it's a process of matching, and we use a combination of algorithms as well as people to DQ that process. So it's clean, absolutely clean data.
And is this using some kind of crawling software?
So Dexy is our provider of the actual crawled data, and so we ingest that data, we transform that data, and then we present that data. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not that you're having to profile individual retail websites and understand the structure, and then in order to get the data, Dexy is doing that.
Correct.
And they're providing data, but that needs translating into a structure that is consistent across all of these different sites.
Exactly that, and
Okay.
And that really was after the sort of experiences of what happened in the Ukraine, where we were actually doing it ourselves. We decided, as Leo said, to sort of pivot away from that and use a third party. So we kind of took the view, Paul, that our expertise was not necessarily in the data collection, but actually it's really in the transformation and surfacing of data in a way that the beauty industry needs to consume it. Yeah, and that's really where our specialism is. So just to continue answering your question, Richard, why do we launch this? And it's very much sort of rooted in the vision for our business. If we take the e-commerce industry for beauty, it's a $450 billion industry. Okay, and it is becoming more and more prevalent. roll the clock back 5 years ago, before we started thinking about building this product out, it represented only about 150 billion, yeah, e-commerce. So it's grown exponentially, and COVID also drove that. Our vision is that we want to bring together the two data sets of our media and our retailer products, yeah. So we're very close now to getting consistency. So that Paco Rabanne 1 million EDT, 30 mil EDT, we actually have lots of media data wrapped around that, and we now have lots of retailer data wrapped around that, okay, as a single unique ID, okay. And what our plan is to go to L'Oreal and say, right, okay, guys, give us your sales data. We'll match that with your internal code, and actually what we can start doing is some really decent econometrics around you know, what the drivers are for sales. Yeah, so that's the vision for the business. We're about, I would say, a year to 18 months away from achieving that in terms of platform compatibility. And but it's rooted in our point of view, and actually what we see happening within the beauty industry, that actually as things become increasingly more digital, there is a convergence taking place right now within the organizations that we sell to, of e-tail and media, yeah, into one business unit. We're seeing that more and more. So, you know, a good example, a real example of that is, you know, with L'Oreal in the UK, we have media and e-tail services. Yeah, what we want to do is, and where we feel that, you know, the synergies with Karma work very well is that go and deliver that in a global context, and, you know, turn that from, you know, Leo, keep me honest here, but we're doing about 300 a year with L'Oreal now in the UK. You know, take that out to the other key markets. There's no reason why that can't be a $1.5–2 million contract, right? So that's our plan, and so it's rooted, as I said, in this notion of the convergence of these departments, but equally as well the convergence of retail into becoming their own media platforms in their own sense. Yeah. So if you take Cult Beauty as an example, Cult Beauty is a fabulous online retail site, but also, you know, they have millions of followers on Instagram. Yeah. If you take Vogue or Cosmopolitan, you know, they now, you know, you can now click out and go and buy product, yeah, when reading an article on their website. So there is this convergence taking place, which allows us to really start understanding what the shopper journey looks like, and what all the monitoring touch points are, the tracking touch points are through that journey.
Off the back of that, so from my understanding from your IM and your presentation and the way you've just described it, the data you're getting on the e-tail side is relating to almost the shop window of a beauty website. So where you actually buy
a retailer, John Lewis, yeah.
Right, okay, from a retailer, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I'm presuming that gives you certain information, like the products that are available, how they're described, potentially the pricing, whether, you know, what's available and what isn't.
Yep.
But do you then have any access to what is actually being bought?
No. So, but our clients do.
Right.
So our clients will get what is called the sales out data from John Lewis on a monthly basis, and they will give that data to us. And we've got examples where we've run some insight reports around this, and then we start doing the analysis from there. Yeah.
And actually, there's the case study that's in at the end of the information that Christian sent, which was around, I think it was the top 5 best-selling fragrances over a Christmas period, and that's really where we've started to make that connection between the media presence And I think a really important element that you didn't mention there, Paul, in terms of what we collect is also the share of search. So it's the visibility on the retailer. So if you put in, using the Paco Rabanne example, you put in Paco Rabanne, what comes up, because sometimes it's a competitor if you're not careful, or if you put in male fragrance, what are the top fragrances that that retailer is presenting? So it's really the retailers becoming media, as Christian said.
Yeah.
And if I can just sort of build on that as well, and we think about upstream PR campaigns that are driving awareness, around a product launch, but the consistency of that marketing campaign needs to run all the way through the funnel, all the way to the retailer, ultimately where the product is bought. So that shopper journey, this is where we talk about the shopper journey. That shopper journey has to be consistent. The e-tail department and the PR and communications department need to be talking together to ensure that they're using all the correct digital assets and the correct language and marketing assets in order to ultimately convert their consumers. So that's where we will get to, as I said, in the next 18 months. But at the same time, what we have is two very discrete products.
Yeah.
Well,
that was going to be my follow-on question, because it's obviously the vision is to try and tie all this stuff together, and then it's like, the value is in greater than the sum of the parts. But in terms of the current client base, it looks like media is the most well served product, and then you have less clients taking the influencer impact and less clients again taking e-tail. What type of crossover though is there between the services? So how many clients would take, say, all three, or a combination of any two?
So right now we have 3 clients who are taking both media and e-tail services. So that's L'Oreal, it's LVMH, and a company called Kenneth Green Associates, who are a distributor of product. So and LVMH is an example where we have all 3 services being taken by that customer. And
are they? Okay, so following question from that, with that example, has that been bought as one product, or has it been bought by separate products by separate budgets and separate teams?
Yeah, it's been bought by separate entities within the organization, absolutely. And so we're not there yet in terms of having that one sort of persona who we can sell to, that complete vision. But it's moving that way. What I would say in relation to LVMH is that our service with LVMH is actually in Germany, I believe. So we're servicing the German customer there rather than the UK customer.
As a company, LVMH are quite disparate. I don't know if you work with them at all. But because they have, whilst they have a number of brands and they have the holding company LVMH, the brands operate very, very separately, and they actually have individual GMs in each country for each brand. So you can't sell into LVMH UK, you have to sell into Dior, you have to sell into Givenchy. So we've actually got Germany, UK and Middle East for LVMH, and we just need to kind of try and join it up, probably at a very, very senior level. So they're a very tricky one.
So Richard, I mean, hopefully that sort of explains, it's sort of rooted in a sort of strategic vision of how, the world is evolving, and how, CPG is evolving, specifically, the beauty industry. And we are ahead of the game in that respect. And indeed, we are the only organization out there who has this vision of bringing these two disciplines together. But at the same time, we can sell in discrete ways. So, we sell media contracts to the PR departments, and we sell e-tail contracts to e-commerce departments. But but that's how it came about, and ultimately what we want to do. And it's fondly known within our business as the single bottle of perfume. What we want to do is get to the point where we have global media data and global retail data wrapped around a single unique ID that we can then map our customers' sales out data to.
Yeah. No, I understand the vision.
And the sales out data is very expensive and very private and very difficult. I mean, we sort of looked at whether we could do anything, but I don't know if you know MPD, or they're now called Sakana. You heard of them? They collect kind of market data for sales. They've got deals with all of the key retailers in a number of countries, and they're very, very protective about their their data. So it's hard to get that.
Sure. So okay, I'm just thinking sort of big picture stuff again before we get to. I mean, obviously we're going to keep going down rabbit holes, I guess, but there's this valuation you did in November 21. You said it 12 million enterprise. What was your revenue at that point?
So
how was that valuation worked
that was
out?
based on a so we were expecting 2.6 million ARR, and it was based on a 4.8x of that. So I think it was actually, the valuation was about 11 million actually. So it's 4.8 times 2.6 million ARR.
And do you have documentation from that period that you could share with us?
Yeah, absolutely.
You did an IM or whatever?
Yeah.
Did you appoint an advisor? And I mean, how did you go through that process?
So we did that. I have a very good board. So my board is made up of 2 ex-beauty company CEOs, one Coty and one from Pooch, and then I have two other gentlemen on the board who Peter and Dip, who are from the world of finance, and they ran the process for me. And through their connections, we got a couple of lead shareholders onto the cap table. So our lead shareholder, we have 3 lead shareholders. One is a family member. The other is Lord Stanley Fink, and a third is Nigel Ray, the owner of, or ex-owner now of, Saracens. So both Nigel and Lord Stanley are very active in the sort of startup scale-up space.
Yeah. So you got the funding, but you started to hire ahead of the funding.
That's right. Yes, we did.
So you got 13 heads, and what roles did those 13 heads go into then?
Very much around. So there was the focus was really twofold. One, to start driving sales and marketing. So we built out our sales and marketing team. I got a name who may ring a bell, a chap called John Gaylor.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. So John worked with us for about 18 months. He headed up media. And then we got a chap called Kevin Flaherty from Coty who headed up eTel. And then we built out those 2 separate teams. So the majority investment in people was very much within sales and marketing. Hopefully, I think Richard, you may have downloaded one of our papers actually. So you see that on our website, we've got a lot of good content, and we've done a lot of inbound lead generation around that. So we've got a great engine there. And so, sales and marketing, to answer your question, and then the rest of the funding really was about building out the IP and building out that eTel platform and getting to that point of convergence where we had that common ID. Okay. We never got there on the latter because of the Ukraine war.
Yeah, and then when you talk about IP.
Well, hang on a sec before you just got, because you mentioned the number of people.
Yeah.
Am I right in thinking that the deck I've got here is saying there's 32 full-time equivalents?
I think we're actually 28 now, Paul. Yeah.
Okay.
And presumably John's gone, has he?
Yes. Yeah. He went to ePressPack, and he's left ePressPack. Jeremy was over there.
Yeah.
But we do have working for us Cheryl McDonald. Cheryl from Decision Days.
Yes.
She's fantastic. absolutely fantastic.
I remember Cheryl. I
what-
can't remember her last name. I presume it's the same. I think probably the same lady. Yes.
Yeah, it was Scottish lady.
Scottish
Yes.
Cheryl, yeah.
Yeah.
She's head of operations.
Oh, that okay. Okay,
Yeah.
right.
So she sort of heads up operations and customer success. And then there is also another excision lady, Sheena. Is it Sheena Patel, Leo? Yeah. Who may be another name that rings a bell. She's
That
fabulous.
does ring a bell, yeah.
Customer
Yeah.
success, yeah.
She's fabulous as well. Yeah.
So these guys came to you in that growth period, and some of them have gone, but some of them have been good, and you've kept hold of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and so then I mean, obviously you got these people supporting you, but you went about raising some more money because your costs had gone out of control, you weren't able to do new business, and you wanted to raise another 1.75, but you say
Correct.
you've raised 1 million till now.
That is correct. Yeah.
And so where's that million come from? Has it come from new shareholders or
No,
existing shareholders?
From the existing shareholders. Yeah.
Right. So no new shareholders at that point, but you have, I think you said you have 40 shareholders.
Yeah. So that came from about 6 or 7 shareholders in total. That million. It was actually 982 to be precise. I think 984, something like that.
Okay. Okay. Account, right, we talked about that. And then I was interested, I'm just working through the sort of further information document to start with, just to get this sort of chronology right. You're talking about prospects closed, L'Oreal. L'Oreal, those your longest serving client, but you've got them down as a new win.
That was a new win for retail. Yep. So longest serving client for media, and we won them for retail this year. Yeah.
And so that e-tail deal is 250K.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's really just the start. We expect to significantly expand that.
Because that's UK only, and obviously these kind of solutions tend to be sold at a global level. So.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, and then presumably this document's a few weeks old. Estee Lauder in the pipeline and PZ Cousins.
Yep.
Are both in there. Are they presumably these are e-tail clients potentials? Are they at that rate?
So no, PZ Cousins is a global media opportunity, and Estee Lauder is an e-tail opportunity. So Estee Lauder were a client of ours for many years with the media product, and they went about 3-4 years ago to, I think, Launch Metrics, who've since been acquired by DMR. They're probably our biggest competitor when it comes to the beauty industry. But we won them back for retail last year, and that opportunity is to go into the global team.
That was one of my questions, but you mentioned it now, so let's do it now. Your competition, sorry, because I was making notes on some other stuff. Who did you say is your main competitor?
So Launch Metrics on the media side, together with we do go into bat with Cision from time to time. Leo, who else would you? I say Tribe Dynamics is one on the social side.
Social,
if you guys have come across them,
yeah. On the media side, I think the key thing is with Launch Metrics and DMR, now they've come together. They're both quite similar in that they do competitive benchmarking, and again, that's our strength. And monitoring is a kind of byproduct, I would say, of the benchmarking. But the way we do the benchmarking is we actually have a universe of media against which we track. So it's kind of I wouldn't say a closed reading list, but it's a universe against which we benchmark. So it's not, if you're looking for someone to track all your coverage, then we're probably not the best person. But also, excitingly, that's why working with Karma, would be a fantastic opportunity, because our clients, they want to have that one provider, but the benchmarking services with decisions of this world are not as comprehensive and granular as what we do. So having that full.
Can I ask, on some operationally on the media side, how do you get the media content? Does that depend by channel? For example, online, social, print. I mean, what's your methodology for this?
Yeah. So on the social side, it is our influencer marketing platform, Influencer Impact. So that's our sort of proxy, if you like, for social media content, and that's Instagram stories, TikTok. So we feed in. So one of the reasons we acquired Achew was not only that our customers were asking for an influencer discovery platform, but also it was a perfect feed into our own platform for content. Yeah, so that's how we get the social.
And
online,
does that platform, in terms of access to content, is that all done through APIs, or is there any other kind of scraping or anything that's going on?
Yeah, so that platform is the content that goes into the Achew platform is also delivered via a third party.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's another third party. Yeah.
So but they don't. That's not APIs from Meta, for example. It is.
That was my question. Is it directly with social media platforms like Meta, or Twitter, or
it's collected. There is our third party is a quite a sort of punchy, again, quite startup, again in Scandinavia, and he says what we really do is we have technology that can do what an army of interns would do, which I thought was an absolutely lovely way of putting it. And the difference between between what we do with that influencer platform is that we collect the Instagram stories, which I don't know if it's a problem with your platforms, but in PR, if you're not getting the stories, you're only getting part of the picture, and Meta are very, very guarded about that. So we have the stories.
I saw that in your document that you were doing the stories. I was going to ask you how you do it. So which third party is that you're working with?
It's a company called Modash.
Modash.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I mean, are we confident that what they're doing is legal?
Yes.
Yes. I had a very large meeting about it just last week, actually. So they have,
because we have to our clients ask us also to back off that very point in the contracts that we sign with them. So yeah, absolutely.
And what about Twitter? Is Modash providing that to you?
Leo, do you want to answer on Twitter?
we don't collect Twitter because our clients aren't very interested in it. But again, it's the beauty industry. So what they're looking for is the consumer, what the consumer sees that drives them to not just purchase, drives them to become fans and ambassadors for certain beauty brands. And beauty, Twitter is not the place for beauty. And in fact, originally when we devised the social service, we actually analysed Twitter, and then when we saw how much engagement there was around the Twitter posts for beauty, we did a survey to our clients and said we're thinking of stopping Twitter, because we were just putting so much energy into it and just getting absolutely nothing back. And every single one of them said, no, that's absolutely fine, we don't need it.
So when did you stop doing Twitter?
God, probably maybe like 2017.
Okay, quite a few years ago.
Yeah.
And what about other platforms like TikTok, Snapchat?
Not Snapchat. So we do Instagram, and we do the full gamut of that: Reels, Grid, Stories, YouTube, and TikTok. Those are the three. And we get occasional requests for, can you do Twitch and all of that kind of stuff, but or Be Real. And the new one comes along and everyone says, are you doing Be Real? and we say, well, we'll look into it. And so I think with those platforms, I think you have to really watch them before you do the development, because they come and go, I would say.
Okay, so product line wise, you have a social media monitoring platform which is powered by a Chew but is called something else as you sell it. Is that right?
I wouldn't say that, no. So what I would say is that our media platform ingests data from print, online, and social media, and it analyzes it, and so you can actually measure your presence, your beauty brand's presence in the market, using the same metrics as much as possible for all those three media types.
And we talked about having a limited universe. So you have how does your benchmarking work in terms of social stuff, where presumably the universe isn't limited?
Is large. Yeah, well, we limit it essentially. So we have 2,000 influencers against which we benchmark, and we update that list quarterly.
Because obviously with print and online, that universe is static, not expanding, whereas with social it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think the reality is that the universe for our social could be bigger. What we're working on right now is more automated analysis, so that we don't have to have so much or even any human eye on the posts. And once we can do that, we can expand the universe. But right now, the universe is the universe, and our clients can submit influencers that they would like to have included. And I think it's one of those things where actually, if you want to do social listening, that's a different service. That we would say, if someone said, I'm looking for a social listening tool, I would say, well, we're not the right person for you. If you're looking to see what your share of voice is within a pool of influencers, or within the media, the key consumer media for beauty, that's where our sweet spot is. But what I would say also is that even the largest beauty brands actually don't have enormous target lists for the influencers that they're working with, and most of them will have a secondary tool where they can track everything. And actually that's really where Influencer Impact came in, because that allowed us to kind of have access to that wider social list of influencers, as long as, of course, with the discovery tool.
Just to sort of be clear here for Richard. So we have two products. We have Media Pro and Influencer Impact. Influencer Impact is the Chew acquisition, and that's an influencer marketing platform, influencer discovery platform, where we have some 500,000. We could even have even more on that platform. And incidentally, we actually have quite a few clients out in the Middle East region on that platform. Influencer Impact, aka a Chew, ingests into Media Pro the social content that we need. Okay, that social content, to include the print and the online content, is a restricted universe in order for us to provide benchmarking services. Yeah. We then have a third product called Media Select. Now, Media Select is where our clients don't necessarily want to have the total market view. So in our benchmarking, in Media Pro, we have something like 1,200 beauty brands. Yeah. And all of those beauty brands are and their products are segmented as the beauty industry needs it. Yeah, so skincare, hair care, cosmetics, eyes, lips, face, and so on and so forth. There's a high degree of segmentation.
Yeah.
And that's a significant piece of IP, by the way, that we have, which, if we sort of move on to sort of, automation and use of AI, it's a great training database that we can use to introduce AI into some of our operational processes. But coming back to the key point, Media select is where a client such as Huda Beauty will say, right, what we want is we want to track us plus these 10 competitors in these 15 different countries. Okay. And so it's not pro in the sense that it's not 1,200 benchmarking, yeah, but it's more select. And again, if they require us to provide social, we would take the feed from influencer impact from that. Now, it's important that you know that the O Point, yeah, provides data for media select, and Inform Media provide the print data for select. Yeah, so I just want to get back to that earlier question you had, Paul, in terms of where do we get our data from?
Yeah, makes sense.
From Media Pro, LexisNexis provide content for our online Media Pro, and then we actually receive in ourselves the print content.
So you are subscribing to a certain set of glossy magazines or consumer magazines?
Exactly. And we chop it up and scan it and pay the NLA for the pleasure. So that's how we. So really, actually, print is one of the only methods that actually, other than social, of course, now, where we actually collecting the data ourselves. Yeah. So that's how that data collection works. Now, obviously, what is one of the huge synergies, I believe, and I've baked this into a sort of hypothetical business plan in the deck. One of the huge synergies is the fact that you've got this data already, yeah, and that you're collecting this data. So there's a significant amount of cost of sell that we can take out of our business if we were to receive that content from yourselves. Obviously, influencer impact notwithstanding. So that's one of these sort of exciting opportunities for me in terms of driving up our gross margins. Yeah. I also just want to sort of go back a couple of steps as well. And when Leo mentioned the fact that, if a client comes to us and says we want a monitoring solution, we typically say, not really our space. We're about benchmarking. We're about insights within the beauty industry. But with that said, we are leaving on the table significant amount of money. Yeah, because our clients do take monitoring solutions. They do need broadcasts. They would like to have corporate PR. Yeah. And that, just to get to the sort of second area, which I think is very exciting in terms of our potential tie-up, is we can go into L'Oreal and have a much broader cross-sell conversation. L'Oreal, you want that one supplier. Well, hey, guess what? We're now part of Karma. So if you want corporate PR, yeah, if you want broadcast, if you want the other things that you guys do, then we can now offer that. Yeah, so that's quite exciting for me to broaden out that cross-sell opportunity within our existing customer base.
I think just going back to this point around where the synergies are and managing costs. I think one of the things that would be useful, perhaps as a next step, is to understand a bit more about the cost structure of the business and to almost phase this out, because I think one of the things that I'm slightly struggling with is the top line information we got so far, such as the back of the IM, where we do have actual numbers for 22, 23. Obviously, on the surface, that looks pretty harrowing in terms of the costs that have gone out in that particular year against the revenue that came in that particular year. Yeah. I think what would be very useful is being able to do a little bit of a double click on that and be able to have almost like a month by month breakdown of, or even quarter on quarter breakdown of revenue and costs, and seeing how that's evolving.
Yeah.
Understand of those costs what are one-off duplicating of costs or whatever that is going away, but then also to understand where the costs are going.
Yeah. So absolutely we can provide that, and we have, you know, month by month data to offer that to you. So that's not a problem. What I would say is with the IM, that is a few months old now. We have done a lot. One of the things I talk to in the document, in the second document, which is the PowerPoint presentation, which I PDF'd for you, is that we've taken out about $1 million of cost on an annualized basis in the last 6 months. Yeah. And actually, you what I haven't presented to you is the new 3-year P&L. Yeah. So if I may ask you to sort of ignore that one that's in the IM. Yeah. Take a look at the one that is in the Karma presentation, starting at around about page 34, where I've put forward a financial plan that is based on us coming together and thereby taking out some of those cost of sales, such as, you know, content collection. But behind that is also a business plan that we're now working to, with the $1 million of annualized cost savings, that we will work to in the event that we don't merge and become part of the Karma group. So I've got that information, is the point. And the second point is perhaps don't rely so much on the IM for that, but look more at what I'm showing here in the PDF doc.
I mean, Christian, would it make sense?
And then just in terms of triangulating some of these things. So Richard asked about new bits. So I've talked about costs. Richard's talked about new business coming in, which is the tap of the bath, filling the bath. Can we also talk about the plug in the bottom of the bath in terms of retention of clients against particular services? And I appreciate the IM is, as you say, is a bit old, but obviously that's what I'm going off. It looked like there was a big big difference between the product lines. So it looked very much like the media product line was pretty stable and had a low double-digit client churn. But both the media influence piece and the e-tail product line had quite significant client churn. I think it was 36% and 50% respectively. Can you sort of comment on the reasons why those clients stopped using those services?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're absolutely right to highlight that the media is a very solid base, and actually we typically low single-digit churn on media. Yeah, to Leo's point earlier, L'Oreal have been with us for 20 years. Where our challenge has been is actually growing that. Yeah. Because we haven't necessarily had the investment or the resources in sales and marketing, the sales distribution capabilities to do that, which again is another exciting thing in relation to Karma. With regards to e-tail, that's fundamentally down to the Ukraine war. Yeah, so that was, you know, e-tail was significantly hit in terms of data and data quality as a result of the Ukraine.
So that's what Leo was saying earlier on in terms of if the quality of the data wasn't being maintained, then that was directly affecting the service to the client, and then the clients then reacted to that.
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. And we won a very large contract that we were in the process of kind of setting up and onboarding when it all happened. So that really that contract made up almost all of that loss. Was just one contract.
$600,000 a year.
It was the big contract that was going to turn the ship, and then it was
I mean, presumably, is it mainly one? So what was the percentage number that you gave? Yeah. So how many companies?
There were about we churned about 3 or 4 customers.
3 or 4 customers
from e-tail, as a result of our data.
And I'm just trying to think, like, obviously a churning customer who's annoyed that you sold them something and the data integrity is no good. There's a reputational impact that comes from that. Have you managed to win these clients back?
Well, I mean, so Coty was one of them, but they still remain a media client. Who else did we churn? I think there was a couple of foreign customers, wasn't there?
I think the key thing on this is, since we lost Coty, we have won Estee Lauder and then L'Oreal. So reputationally,
on the e-tail side.
On the e-tail side, yeah. So reputationally, obviously, because I suppose in the business, I'm the person with the closest links to the industry, because I've been working the longest time with the companies, and I have to say that it was a massive concern to me. However, I think what was really, really heartening was the fact that both Estee Lauder and L'Oreal had been working with other companies, and when they saw the clarity of our data, they made the change, essentially, because and I think with the e-tail side, the beauty specialism is I mean, I think with both of them, the beauty specialism is really important, because but with e-tail, the reason why is that these digital shelf analytics platforms, the broader ones like the Edge, Profitero, etc., they're working with Tesco's about baked beans and custard and deodorant and all of that kind of thing, whereas with the luxury beauty space, their product is very, very, very different. And so what we're doing for e-tail is resonating with the beauty companies, because they want someone that's speaking their language, that has their categorization, that has that clean data that they can actually work with. And so it's a really good question that you've asked. It was something I was very, very worried about. But the fact that we then won those two, I mean, the two biggest beauty companies in the world kind of then came in and saw the data, and was very heartening, as I said.
Well, they were competitive wins as well. So the two, the big boys in the room are, as Leo said, Profitero and Edge by Essential. We've won them off those two organizations, which was down to the way that we have constructed and configured our and the way that we visualize our data for the beauty industry. We often talk about how we have well, actually, I mean, Pooge, we actually built this platform with Pooge. So we talk about how we've built, we build our platforms with the beauty industry for the beauty industry. And the CEO of Pooge, Olivier Marais, who I built the product with in the first place, actually ended up becoming a board director for our company. So so it's very much firmly rooted in the beauty industry. But what I should say is this, and again, this is something that I find exciting, is that you guys are much more agnostic in terms of sector. And I know that you do have some beauty companies, but we do have ambitions to, and we have the flexibility within our platform now to segue into other sort of adjacent categories, such as luxury goods, for instance. So we've built within our platform the flexibility to be able to do that now, which is
just for clarity there. Then you're very much beauty focused, not luxury goods.
Right now, that is correct.
Is that across all of the business?
Well, influencer impact is agnostic. So influencer impact is agnostic, whereas the Media Pro, Media Select, and our e-tail product is very much beauty, but we can now look to take that out into luxury goods as well.
But actually saying that, when you look at the influencer impact clients, we do have quite a high proportion of beauty, and the reason for that is not because we've targeted them, but because the beauty industry very much lends itself to the influencer marketing space. So it's really that the budgets are there. Beauty has very high margins compared to a lot of the other consumer goods spaces, and they spend a lot on marketing in order to maintain that high price point. And so that's really where the influence marketing and why media and e-commerce are so important to beauty, because it's about maintaining that. You've got a perfume. The ingredients of one perfume will be more than another, but actually it's how you market it is really where the value comes. Sure.
So just before we move on, Christian, you mentioned the two main competitors. Obviously, it's not my area of expertise. It's Profitero and Edge, did you say?
And Edge by Essential, ASC. Yeah. Yeah.
Essential.
Yeah.
Okay, and Profitero.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay, and then the influencer impact product then presumably has suffered from some churn as well. That was the third thing we were going to talk about there. So we're talking about the churn rates,
Yeah.
retention rates. So what's going on there then?
So what's happened there is, so Influencer Impact is a pure SaaS platform. Okay. So you can go in onto Influence Impact, you can do a 2-week trial, you can put your credit card in and you're away. Yeah. And the sort of the go-to-market, if you will, with Influencer Impact is very different to the go-to-market with, you know, with our retail and media products. It's much more sort of lead driven. Yes, there's a higher churn rate within that by virtue of the proposition. What we started to do post investment and post acquisition is we started to invest very heavily in that, and we were starting to get lots of leads and lots of trials being taken up. But then we had to simply take our foot off the gas because we needed the money in order to fund the exit from the Ukraine. So we stopped marketing that SaaS product. So that would be sort of the key reason I would suggest why we've experienced a churn in there, and we haven't yet got behind us that sales engine and the investment that's needed in order to drive it. But again, for some, what is the reason, Leonora? We do have a lot of Middle Eastern clients. I was talking to Mazen about this, and I said we actually have a common client with Socialize, which is Altaya. I don't think Socialize is actually part of Karma Group. I don't know. Is it a separate business, Socialized?
It's part of News Group, which is the group that sits above Karma and Socialize. Yeah.
So we've got a common client,
company,
which is Altaya, and you know, I was actually in Dubai meeting with Altaya back in November last year, and they mentioned Socialize at the time. Socialize doing a lot of the campaign strategy work, and you know, Socialize again. There's another great synergy point there. If Socialize would have a sort of influencer marketing platform in order to complement their product. There's a really neat tie up there.
So they're Altara, a client of Influencer Impact, are they?
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, how much are they paying out of interest?
Leo?
Not very much.
So, excuse me for perhaps an impertinent question, but Christian, why were you in Dubai seeing a client who's not paying you very much money?
Because I was going to Abu Dhabi for the Grand Prix.
Oh, okay, very nice.
He never stops working.
I never stopped working. I should have been on holiday, Richard. But there you go. Hey,
you missed the first. You missed something, didn't you, to go and see Altaya?
Yeah.
But they're very obviously we would love to develop them, and we're working on that at the moment. So.
Yeah, I mean,
the Influence Impact products. I'm just trying to do some sums on your numbers here. So it looked like you got 150,000 of revenue in 2023 for that Influencer Impact across something like 16 clients. So is the ballpark of around 10,000 pounds per client per year sound about right for that product?
Yeah, for the existing customer base, yes. Yeah. So what we've not managed to do yet, Paul, with that product is take it into sort of what I say the enterprise space. So we haven't sold it yet into L'Oreal, into Estée Lauder, right. Yeah, where the ticket size will be very different. Yeah.
Because I think this is quite important, right? Because we're having a similar debate internally around this difference between selling to enterprise and selling to sort of a SaaS product. Yeah. Because if you've got a SaaS product that's, let's say it's got a churn of a third, so you're losing a third of your client base a year, and your ticket price is quite low, the volume of stuff you've got to sell is pretty high, and therefore you need quite a big sales engine in order to churn through that,
or a lot
get
of
the leads
Google
and churn through it.
budget. That's really what it is.
Right.
It's Google
Yeah.
budget.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah.
So
that's very
we
were
different
spending
from selling
But I would
targeted
say
selling to an enterprise.
I would say
Yeah.
Google budget, depending on what you're in. If you're in the media monitoring space, Google AdWords is so expensive now. It's prohibitively so. So
Yeah.
it used to be about that. But I can see in your sector, perhaps with less competition, presumably it's something that you can bid for and get at a sensible price.
we dipped our toe in the water, and then we actually took a step back and said, is this the best use of our money at the moment? And so we're all set up, everything's set up. We have all the automation. So if somebody starts a trial, then they get the kind of, welcome, here's a video for this. So we've got the SaaS process built, but all we really need to do is put the money in the machine to drive the leads.
This is a high margin business unit, product line. Do you know what the gross profit margin you're making on it is?
Well, actually, at the moment it's not, because what we're having to do is we've got quite a heavy server infrastructure cost associated with it. So we're in the process at the moment of extracting out of Google Cloud and going onto our own dedicated server infrastructure, which will save us approximately seven grand a month. And also with the Vietnamese developers, we're sort of slowly but surely winding all of that down. We're having to run the Vietnam office, so we've got office costs out there. So that's all being run down now, and won't be there by the time you guys, if you guys come on board, and or if we come on board with you guys, rather, I should say. So yeah, unfortunately, it's not a high gross profit at the moment, but we're taking action to make it so. Yeah.
But it should be, exactly. Yeah. If we generate the leads and get to the conversion rate that is industry standard, then it should be quite a hands-off process.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't need too many salespeople, or it's not designed in that way. Obviously, on the enterprise side, you can I think the idea is that it will be sold alongside the other products by the sales team on a wider basis, and those will be the larger deals.
But it is, Paul, a very different go-to-market model. The type of people you need for these SaaS products are, people who sort of really understand the whole sort of PPC world, and those are the people that you actually want running and driving that business. And we outsource that to an agency. Whereas, if we want to go and do six-figure deals with the likes of L'Oreal, it's the Leos of this world that we need in order to do that. So that's what we learnt, and we learnt that quite quickly. Yeah.
So your churn rate is about 33%. Is it, just try and move on from this section? Is that right? Is that what we had?
Well, the IM has 35.8%, so it's a 36%.
Right.
Yes, it'll be about that. Yeah.
Okay, and we've done. Okay, so we've covered those three things. Is it worth talking about technology and your tech stack and everything? I mean, obviously you've talked about your software stuff sitting currently in the Google Cloud. Is that where all of your stuff is?
No. So we have we've built out our own infrastructure, our own private cloud, with a hosting provider called OVH. Yeah. And we're running our entire infrastructure for about £8,000 a month. Okay.
Excluding the 7K that.
Excluding the 7K with Google. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a very well-tuned, highly optimized, and cost-efficient platform that is delivering our services to our clients via a company called OVH, and we have system engineers who look after that infrastructure. Yeah. We have developers. We have what I should say is that the ETEL product, by the way, is visualized through Tableau. So that might be a product that you're familiar with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we have a Tableau specialist who designs Tableau for us.
And is there an aspiration to ultimately replace Tableau with a more of your own dashboarding software?
The aspiration is actually to bring all three platforms together. Yeah. So again, coming back to that journey, find your influencers, monitor and measure your influencers, yeah, and then make sure your stuff's in stock. Yeah. So it's the aspiration is to bring all three together. Absolutely. But Tableau is actually quite an efficient and cost-effective way. A license for our clients is about $250 a year, so it's not expensive. We've got a decent setup there, but there is some additional overhead involved in terms of having to transform our data. So we get it from DXC, we then transform it within our own management platform, and then we have to transform it to be visualized within Tableau. So that's a sort of an automated process that takes place.
Well, I mean, thinking about, so the media platform's our own proprietary visualization, and obviously because I'm supporting the existing customers, I would say that your own platform is always going to be more stable than something like Tableau. So I mean, I would say that the aspiration would be, yes, to move away from Tableau, but Tableau is very flexible, whereas if you build your own, it's much harder to make changes.
So
we recently did a similar journey where we were doing a lot of dashboarding in Tableau, and have now developed our own proprietary way of building dashboards, and I think we're in a better place now, even though I do recognize Tableau was pretty flexible, but then there are certain challenges in using it.
Yes, absolutely, and a different skill set that you need within the business. Right. So you probably got developers, back-end, front-end developers who can do the work for you, but then suddenly you need some Tableau resource as well. So
exactly, it's just more specialist.
Yeah, interesting.
So OVH is a cloud system, but you got your own sort of private bit of cloud. Does it have virtual servers? Is that how it works?
So it has actual servers, doesn't it?
We got our own
like proper hardware.
Yeah, we've got our own physical servers that we rent, and those servers are virtualized.
So how many servers are you running then in this?
Now you're asking. I would say maybe 20 odd servers in the data room. We've got system architecture documents that you can look at and things like that. Yeah. In fact, it may well be that we should open up the data room to you guys.
Well, you mentioned that in an email and said you were going to, but I hadn't seen that it had happened.
Yeah, so I can do that if that's something you'd be interested in. We can do that this afternoon.
And Leo, you mentioned that you thought we'd received, there was some document at the back of one of these documents, I think one of your reports or something.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that a link, or because I hadn't noticed it so far, or is it a little case study in the back of this?
It is. So on slide 29, there is, so you got the insights slide, and this is the PowerPoint that's probably a PDF now for you.
Yeah, I'm not seeing page numbers actually, so.
Okay, fine. There's an insights page, and if you go not right to the back, it's kind of in the middle. Actually.
Insights, yes, I see insights.
It's the top UK female fragrance launches.
It's the 3 slides exactly after that insights piece.
Okay,
got it.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
So what that is, guys, is that's where we got a brief from our customer to actually bring together our two data sets. Yeah.
And you've got a media ranking and an ETEL ranking.
Yeah.
And you can see who's up and who's down in each of those.
Yeah. What one thing I haven't mentioned actually, which I don't know why I didn't, but in terms of our product, so we have a really neat product within the eTail suite called Ad Check. Yeah. So what Ad Check does is our clients say to us, right, we're going to run a campaign. Here's the digital assets. We're going to run a campaign on these retailers for a week, starting at this time and ending at that time, and we're going to have the landing page of the fragrance section or landing page of the cosmetic section. That's where it's going to be. We set up the tracking of that. Yeah, so we track for them whether or not the retailer was compliant in delivering that campaign. Yeah, and here's a really, really interesting fact. 20% of campaigns are not compliant, i.e. they did not start at the right time. Yeah, they were not on carousel slide 1. They ended up on being on carousel slide 5. Yeah, and actually when you clicked out on the product, you clicked out to a product page for a competitor product. Yeah, 20%.
And these are what promotions on the retailer's website?
Tiles on the, yeah, so they'll take up tile space on the website on the yeah, absolutely.
A phrase that is used is co-op advertising, or so it's kind of the retailer advertise. It's you buy the brand buys a banner on the retailer's website.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And so not only is there, and this is very, very akin to the world of media as well, because much like brands are placing ads in magazines, they're also placing ads on retailer sites. Yeah, much like the magazines give brands PR. Yeah, the retailers also provide free space for their products as well, and we track that too. So we end up with a share of voice, an advertising share of voice on the retailer site through the AdCheck product. Yeah. So not only are we providing share of voice in the media, and again, this is my convergence point, right? Not only are we providing share of voice in the media, but we're also providing share of voice on the retailer site, where actually one could argue, it's pretty essential. Yeah, it's pretty essential. And by the way, if L'Oreal are spending 100 million a year across 200 global websites to promote their product, and 20% of those campaigns aren't run on time, 20% of 100 million, the maths really, the ROI in this product really start adding up. Yeah, really starts adding up. We're very excited by this product, and our clients have started to buy it from us. Yeah.
What do you sell it for?
We sell it by the number of campaigns that we actually track for our customers. Yeah, I can work out. Normally, it's bundled up in an eTail contract, but I can provide you with the splits. But it all depends on how many campaigns they wish to run. It's a really neat product, and that is also then visualized within Tableau as well.
And the data for that, is that gathered using the same process as the rest of the eTail data that we talked about earlier on?
Yeah, we actually collect that data ourselves, funny enough. Okay. But we will be, as part of our contract with DXC, moving that across to DXC for DXC to collect for us. Yeah.
Right.
Again, because it's just another overhead.
And is that because you've been trying to do it almost like a proof of concept? You need to show how it works before it then goes to a third party.
Yes, and we've also we now have experience of in an operational live scenario. So it's something that again we recognize to really scale it, we need to be a different sort of business. We're an insights business. We're not a data collection business. Sure. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So we've kind of gone, do you know what? That's what DXC do, and that's what they do well. So give it to them, and we'll do the transformation of that data and get it visualized and do the insights. That's the key point for us.
Gotcha. Yeah.
On the subject of ads, and I think that ad check thing sounds great. Are you monitoring, when you're doing the glossy magazine, monitoring, cutting up and stuff, are you monitoring adverts as well as editorial?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, and we actually have a proprietary methodology around how we do that. So we have the kind of display ads, but we actually also have maybe 6 or 7 other types of paid content. So advertorial, we have things like hashtag gifted or sponsored. And then also we have a really good one, and it's called self-endorsement, we call it, because I said we can't call it self-promotion, but essentially where an influencer has launched a beauty brand, if they talk about that beauty brand on their own channel, that's not PR. So because if it was bundled in with PR, then the numbers would be enormous, but it's not a true representation because obviously it's biased. So yeah, we have lots of different types of coverage, content coverage.
But
and we do that
as well.
across print, online, and social. Yeah, we do that.
But
we don't track display ads in online.
That's what I was going to say,
because
it's
they're
coming
cookie
from
driven.
It's coming from Nexus, right? So
yeah, so we don't track banner advertising in online because it's cookie driven as well. So it's the ad check piece that would track that. And in fact, there is an opportunity to take ad check outside of the online retailers and actually do it maybe on Vogue or Marie Claire, or if there was an appetite for clients to understand the kind of share of voice in terms of paid ad content on websites. But that's not a product. That's just Leo's ramblings.
Is it worth
imagining what it could be?
Yeah,
exactly. Big picture.
Is it worth having a quick scoot at some of these 3 different products?
Platform. Yeah,
I think we'll pick them up pretty quickly. So
just Rich, but I'm running out of time. That's the only problem I've got.
Yeah.
Do they stand up on their own 2 feet in that you could send us logins? And I mean, obviously we're very platform comfortable. Is there a login that we could have have a poke around?
We could do that, but I would love us to demo it first, and then to give you, if that's okay. That would be our preference.
Well, why don't
and I think with e-tail you'd probably need
yes, no, absolutely.
It's quite technical.
Look, it's 5:30. Paul's got a hard stop. I think we've covered a lot of ground. Thank you both for your transparency and the spirit in which you've approached the conversation. Paul and I, by the way, sold our company many years ago, so we've
Metrica.
we were Metrica, right? So
I know.
We understand.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of empathy for the mixed emotions you go through when, especially with your own personal business and your blood, sweat, and tears, and
that's right.
Everything's been poured into it.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
But I think we've just sort of concluded now that to achieve the aspirations that we have, which is ultimately in the next 3 years to get to sort of 5 million of revenues, to achieve those aspirations, we'll be far better off within a larger organization that can help us really drive that, and who knows, we could go beyond 5 million with the sales and distribution. I don't really know how big Karma is actually. I mean, I had a look on LinkedIn and it said there's 680 employees, but you never know whether they're still there or left or whatever. But so I haven't quite got in my mind the sort of the size of your organization yet, and how much of that sales fuel we could actually drop onto our products, but maybe we can sort of talk to that at our next meeting.
Well, let's do that next week. Let's find a slot. Let's give ourselves a weekend to relax and take deep breaths and all the rest of it. There's a few things, if you could send them over to us then. So you said you'd dig out the original IM for that fundraising round that you did. It'd be interesting to see that.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see your management accounts for the last 6 months or something like that, so we can start to see the trends to the points Paul was making about revenue and costs, and as they move out. So perhaps, I don't know, maybe even a year's worth of management accounts. Logins, we said we won't do. If you were going to have a think about ad check sales cost, the price that you bundled it in within the e-tail product, but what sort of price that would be interesting. Leo, you mentioned insights report earlier. I'd love to see an example insights report that you produce, so where you're adding value on top of the raw data, where you're doing that consultancy, where insights consultants. If we could see an example of that, and then open up the data center for us to go and have a look in there as well, because obviously our IT head Sergio will be someone who'll be very keen to talk to you. I've got a bit of information there, but there'll be a lot more questions.
And we have a CTO as well, Richard. So Kishan. So maybe one of the things we can do is connect Sergio and Kishan and let them sort of do their techie stuff. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Great.
That's a good list. Yeah. So we can pull all that together for you. First thing Monday or whatever.
Why don't you do that? And then when we communicate again, we can work out another time slot and have another session.
Sounds good.
That sounds very good. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, gents. Well, have a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Definitely. All right.
Thank you very much.
Good weekend. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Take care.
Bye.